Well, it appears it is an all systems go. Welcome back to the Weekly Harvest. My name is Chris Falko, Director of Game Day Operations, Community Relations with your Brandon Wheat Kings. He's Rob Mann, the radio voice of your Wheat Kings. Happy New Year, Rob.
Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. We're probably missing something. It's been a minute, but it's good to see you again.
Everything rolled up all up into one. It has been a while, at least us talking here on the pod. So for everybody, let's talk a little bit about Christmas. How was the break?
Oh, it was great. It was great to go back home, see the family, see the dog. Drove him absolutely crazy having four of us around the house again. He's a herding dog, so as soon as we are more than two people in that house, he loses his mind just a little bit. But it was great to go home and see the family and, spend some time away from the rink, come back energized and ready to go. And without spoiling too much, it looks like the players felt the same way.
It was a awesome break, especially when you go into it knowing how well the team is performing. There's other Christmas breaks where the team doesn't do so well, and it's almost it's nice to get away for a different reason. This one was a quick break, and the guys were happy to get back. And those games on the 27th and 29th, we always dub it around here holiday hockey because there's a lot of people who aren't living here anymore, but from the area. They're back for Christmas time. Right? And they stick around for that first or second game after Christmas before heading home in time for New Year's. And there's always just a slightly bigger crowd bump on those games, and we saw it again. Some great crowds, some high energy, and some more big wins on home ice.
If you're going to have a bigger crowd, might as well treat them to a win, and the Brandon Wheat Kings did that not once but twice, both in overtime, both against Saskatchewan-based opponents. And this is the curious bit. Entering the month of December, the Wheat Kings had not at any point erased a deficit when entering the third period and come back to win the game. They did it 3 times in December, all 3 against divisional opponents, oddly enough. You had the game against the Moose Jaw Warriors, in which Jackson Jacobson scored twice, and then they won in a shootout. You had the win over the Regina Pats on December 27th. They were down 3-1 entering the third period in that one, and that deficit didn't last very long into the third. And then there was the game against Saskatoon. They were down 2-1 going into the third period. So now the Wheat Kings have come back to win, in extra time, albeit, 3 different times in 1 month after not having done it at any point during the season. Add that to the list of things the Wheat Kings did for the first time over that stretch because they only really had the one short-handed goal. But as we discussed on the last podcast, that kept rolling. And it just doesn't seem to be stopping for them. Like short-handed goals are coming in left, right, and center.
It has been a fantastic run. It has been eye-opening for a lot of those reasons. It has just been great to be a part of. I know the fan base has been really excited for the team. It's nice to see them climb up, even though they're just made up, these power rankings each week. But it's still nice when you get to see your team climbing up on there as well, making some noise. Speaking of making some noise, though, we are approaching trade deadline, and
yes.
There has been a lot of noise from some other teams. It's been quiet around here so far, but of course, trade deadline, Rob, isn't until next week. We were just talking about how we're going to do next week's pod based around, of course, that day, because it's a big day for the league, but as always, there's always some of those early deals that happen, especially when World Juniors are over and the players return to their teams. And, of course, we saw 2 pieces that almost everybody knew was going to happen with the lack of draft picks that Wenatchee, got with their franchise. So as they see Savoy move on and Geeky in 2 blockbuster trades.
Wenatchee finally pushed the big red button. They knew it was coming, and I think a lot of people were surprised. Not that they were in second in the conference, because you look at the makeup of that team and you can see why they would be. But I think people were surprised by just how well they handled things to this point and just how well some of the younger guys in that lineup elevated themselves to keep up, even while Geeky and Savoy were out of the lineup, because Savoy was out of that lineup for a long time, not only due to being away at NHL camp, but due to injury. So it was really mostly Geeky for the first half of the season for Wenatchee, and they still kept pace in the standings. And I have to wonder, and Bliss Littler kind of addressed this a little bit with John Keane when they were talking on the WHL radio show, that there must have been some temptation to try to go for it. The problem is, as we're seeing, if you want to go for it, you need to expend draft capital. And the Wenatchee Wild just don't have that. Or at least they didn't. Now they've got quite a bit more of it. The irony is it's, you need draft capital to go for it, but you can only get draft capital by moving out some pieces. And of course the Wild had to move out pieces. And they've reached a point where, as you said, the cupboards are pretty bare. It just made sense for them to build for the future.
They did not have a higher draft pick than a couple of third-round picks in 2 years from now, besides some fifth-rounders and later round picks. It was a move that last year we talked about that. Winnipeg Ice pretty much went all in. They mortgaged their future to try and win that championship. Didn't quite get there. So now Wenatchee, it's a deal that they kind of had to make. But yeah, even the fan base there, they're still watching a really good team, and that very well could have had like a bit of a championship push. But you gotta look for the future as always in junior hockey. So locally here, we now are gonna have to see at least one of those guys back in the division for this year. So we're gonna be having to see quite the Moose Jaw Warrior lineup next time that they roll around. As we get closer to trade deadline, though, of course, keep attuned to all of our social media channels and the Wheat Kings. If we do make any noise, of course, we'll pass it along there. We got ourselves a very busy January home schedule after a busy December home schedule, and I know that we want to get into all that, but I think our guest, because I haven't looked to my side, but you're making all kinds of weird faces. I think you must be standing outside the door.
What are you talking
now.
about? That's just my face.
That's just the way that you're doing. You're just making weird signals outside. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, our guest this week on the Weekly Harvest podcast, we're going to get him on in here. We'll be right back with Jayden Wiens. Here we are now back live in the Wheat King studio. Our guest, after Rob making all kinds of weird faces, I knew you were standing out there. It's number 14, Jayden Wiens. Jayden, how are you?
Good, how are you?
We're doing really well. Thanks for doing this.
No worries. I on the way back up to Brandon, I was actually listening to these, so I was hoping I get on one.
Oh,
Nice.
Love it. Fan in the studio. It's not every day that happens.
There you go.
Who, by the way, since you listened to a bunch of them, who did a good job? Like, who did you like listening to?
Who did I listen to first? I listened to Brett's, Nate's. Who did I watch first? The first one was the best, I thought.
I want to say
Hank.
Yeah,
Hank.
I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, it's Hank's. That's what I listened
Well,
to
because
first.
Hank's got to be entertaining. So, Jane, you come into this team in the locker room. You're a veteran in the league. There's got to be some guys in that locker room that now you were excited to be on this side of things with joining.
Yeah.
Guys probably like Hank, maybe.
Guys like just to say guys like Hank. Yeah, he's didn't like playing against him. He's like a bear barreling down on you in the corner. So even like Roarsma, he's a hard worker and stuff like that. So it's nice to have him on your side. And Brett, just those kind of guys that work hard and they're just tough to play against.
We were talking about it a moment ago. Some of them are even tough to play against in practice.
Yeah, Luke Shipley, me and him got in a little little wrestling match there, and I got a stick to the face, so I wasn't too good.
It seemed like the pace of practice today was really good, incidentally. Like, it seems like the guys are happy to be home.
Yeah, no, it's good, and even those sometimes are good. You want guys to battle and stuff, so I got the not good end of the stick on that one, but it happens.
Well, lucky for you right now, we're in the studio. People who aren't watching, but there's a big screen in front of your face thanks to the microphone, so it's hiding all the damage that was done. So
yeah,
at least
so you
nobody,
can't see it.
even people watching, won't be able to see kind of what happened there thanks to Ships. So
And I feel like Wheat Kings fans also have seen you enough times by now that they know when you're on the ice, you're going to be right in the thick of it. So that mark could be from just about anything.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like to shy away from too much, so.
And that's what helped make you such a fan favorite in Saskatoon. So let's go back here. Let's talk about. I always like this first question. You are first hearing about the WHL, right? What was your first impression or your first memory of the Brandon Wheat Kings?
Well, when I got traded, I was a bit nervous, obviously, but I always knew Brandon as a tough team to play against. A lot of history to their organization, and kind of from playing against them and watching them for a long time, I knew I kind of fit into how they played and stuff. So that part was really good. But when I got here, yeah, it was nothing but good things. When I got here, obviously, first class organization and really good teammates. So.
We always ask the players this question because guys who come in trades, like we've talked to Mateo Michaels a little bit about this, Jackson D'Souza as well, there always seems to be a certain level of surprise when it comes to the team facilities, like the dressing room and the workout facilities you guys have available, and to the point where even like some former Wheat Kings are still practicing with the team every now and then to take advantage of them. Were you surprised when you saw what was available to you here? Yeah,
big time. I actually the first thing I noticed was the tubs they have here. They're really nice tubs, and they're pretty new, so they're really nice. And there's obviously just did renovations to the room, so everything's super nice.
Your style of play is, like we said, made you pretty much a fan favorite wherever you go, because first thing you said when you got here, I was talking about when I was making your highlight video that we like to do for all the new guys, and only one of your goals came from past the hash marks. Everything else was like looking kind of like the same, but it's that hard work. And what was that like, you coming up through the system? Like, were you always that kind of player when you were younger? Were you like, could you be more skilled and kind of, take those longer shots? Like, what was your development like?
I would say, yeah, like I was more of a hard-nosed score in front of net kind of guy, but when I was younger, I'd say I got, obviously just more skilled. That's kind of how everyone is when they're, back home playing minor hockey and coming up through that system. But once I got to WHL, I was surprised making it at 16. I wasn't really supposed to, and I did make the team, so I kind of had to just completely change my role into a defensive role and go win face-offs and kind of shut down other teams, better players, and that kind of taught me a lot about defense. And sometimes it's been kind of a knack for trying to score goals and be offensive. But this year I'm trying to score from not just the blue paint, and I've got a couple here, so hopefully I can keep going.
Snipe against Regina comes immediately to mind, and we are going to go into that. The overtime goal, that was a big one. But before we do, I want to touch on something in your development that I think is unique among members of the Brandon Wheat Kings organization, because during the COVID year, you had guys playing AAA, we had guys playing in the Western League, a couple guys had some stints with their respective Junior A leagues because they started earlier, but you got to play, I believe it's the Prairie Junior Hockey League in Saskatchewan, for your hometown team, the Carrot River Outback Thunder. What was that experience like?
That was something that I didn't think was going to happen, really. I had to talk to the GM in Saskatoon, and, I wasn't playing hockey for a long time when I was training, and I missed playing, and we came to an agreement to play there. And back in the hometown, that was my first game back in my hometown since I think I was 12 years old. I think that was my first game back there, so it was I was actually kind of nervous to go out there a little bit, but
how'd you do in the first game back?
Well, I got an assist on my first shift.
Yep.
And I thought, oh, this is easy, whatever. And then I didn't get a point for the next 5 games. So there was 4 or 5 guys always on me. I get the puck and I couldn't move.
You were the WHL guy that they had to come back and surround. They were worried about letting you score.
Yeah, exactly. And I was getting chirped all the time. But it was fun. It was fun though. It is
a league than it's given credit for, because I think a lot of people don't know this about Junior B in Saskatchewan. But you don't just get 20-year-olds; you get 21-year-olds. Like, you were playing against guys who were 4 or 5 years older than you.
Yeah, and you always got WHL and Junior A guys and there's actually some pretty good players that do end up playing there because they just want to go to school, right? And so the Saskatoon teams get a lot of really good players.
What was the team name there again? The Outback Thunder?
Carrot River Outback Thunder. It used to be the Tri-Town Thunder, and it's 3 small towns that kind of all chipped in with the money and stuff. So I like that name a lot better. But yeah, they had to switch it to just the Carrot River Outback Thunder because Carrot River just took over the team. So
I really want to see the jerseys now myself. I'm like a big logo and jersey guy.
You would love them.
Yeah?
They're actually part of the nicest jerseys, like one of the nicest jerseys I've ever seen.
I could see the wheels turning over there right now. You're thinking about adding some inspiration maybe to the next Wheat City Walleye jersey.
I just love it. Who's the big rival for the Outback Thunder?
Probably the Saskatoon Quakers or Prince Albert. Prince Albert's one too, but Prince Albert hasn't been a very strong team for a little bit here, so it's probably been like the Saskatoon Quakers because they're usually the best team.
I can remember that from my time in PA. Actually, the PA Junior B team folded for a year and then came back, and they're now the Timberjacks. They were what were they before they folded? I want to say the Titans.
The Titans, yeah. You got it.
I've always got to place my heart for Junior B. That's where I got my start doing hockey, doing Cold Lake ice games.
Oh yeah,
up in northern Alberta. So that was it.
Got some Junior B experience under my belt too, with the calling games at the Keystone Cup in Arborg, Manitoba in 2017.
That's been actually pretty good hockey, probably.
It was fun. I was surprised by the number of guys out there playing, especially for those KIJHL teams, like the BC Junior B circuit, for those who don't know. At the time, was used as almost a feeder circuit for the Western Hockey League.
Right.
Like, you'd have 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, last cuts from Kelowna or wherever would end up in the KIJHL. And it's different now because the KIs are in Junior A status with the BCHL schism and everything going on out there. But I've got a bit of a soft spot for the small-town Junior B hockey.
Yeah, absolutely.
The small town feeling, the small town family vibe, the community that you come from, that is a big part of your support network as well. So you go back there during those times, but even now when you're back here, we see the response online anytime you do anything, or when they think that you should have been a star and we somehow snubbed you. And it's, why isn't it Jayden? How did you rob Wiens again? And I was gonna go defend ourselves on there, like, yeah. But you got a great support network, and like the town there. Speak about that. Even seeing like the relatives now making the trips out, it's so great to see everybody.
Yeah, that's probably the most proud thing I am to say of where I'm from is Carrot River, probably, and not a lot of people can experience what I get to experience. Just you're the hometown hero kind of feel when I go back home. People want to take pictures and autographs, and there was actually an auction in Carrot River in November, I think, and they bought 2 of my jerseys here, and they each went for like $1,000, and they bought them for $150. It's just kind of that, like, people really support me, and I think in Saskatoon I had like 250 people there to watch. So, and it's pretty special, honestly. Like, I don't take it for granted, but I'll be pretty sad if I'm not playing and not getting that support anymore.
Well, I'll tell you this: we can see at times our WHL live figures and where they are geographically, and we can see people around there supporting you. So
yeah, absolutely.
So even if they can't make the trip all the time here, I guarantee you they're still watching you.
They're probably still watching.
They're still watching you play, and we got the data to prove that.
We do have, incidentally, a very dedicated segment of fans, not all from Carrot River, but some certainly are, who on our Guess the Goal Scorer will loyally pick you every single game to score the first goal, and more than once that's earned one of them a free pizza.
Pizza, yeah.
So they've picked their spot.
What would you say, your biggest goal in junior hockey to date? Is there one that sticks out? And feel free to talk about your Blades days. Like, this is all cool. But I'm just curious because, like, the emotion after the shootout winner, right, and then the OT winner, 2 different feelings. Right, one, you're out there by yourself. There's a lot of just it's all on you. The other one, you're exhausted at the end of a long shift. You even told me after, you're like, I was done. I was firing that on, and I was done. I think that even though it's regular season games, there's so much emotion and passion into them. But I know you've had some big games in Saskatoon as well.
Yeah.
So maybe twofold: biggest game so far, biggest goal so far this year at the Wheat Kings, and just your biggest goal in junior that you always think about.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll go Wheat Kings first. Definitely the overtime winner. That's my first ever overtime winner.
That's it, eh?
In my career. Yeah, I've never scored. So
you wouldn't know it. You put that one like a pro.
Yeah, I just kind of, yeah. That was weird. I didn't expect it to go in, but I was happy it did. But yeah, that's probably the biggest one here. And then, biggest one in my career, I think it was game 6 against Regina, maybe, or Red Deer, one of the 2 series. It was 4-3 against Regina. We were down 4-3 with like 2 minutes left, and I went out there and I scored a tying goal with a minute and a half left to tie it up and sent overtime. So that's probably, and it was just 18,000 fans, so that's kind of pretty electric.
That was a pretty wild series.
Yeah,
it was.
That was actually a pretty wild year. There was a lot of
it's like, well, when I scored, you just look up in the stands and like everyone's just like on top of you, pointing at you. It's just like, holy crap.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
I will point out, by the way, that in that series against Regina, you kind of terrorized the Pats a little bit. Like, you had a few goals there. And here in Brandon, we know you pretty well as the anchor of kind of the shutdown line. You would get the matchups against the other team's best. Were you getting the Bedard assignment against the Pats?
I was, yeah. Yeah, that was my role to play against him. So I think that's the most ice time I've gotten ever in those 7 games. It was pretty playing against Bedard. So, yeah, it was good.
Well, one really cool thing happening in Saskatoon is all thanks to the influx of the rush and the fans and just that chaos. Especially when it gets to some of those bigger games, you can kind of really fill up that big building in there in Saskatoon. That would have been pretty cool to play in front of as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty big city too. Like it's 250,000 people. So yeah, but that city does rally around like their good teams. I'd say obviously if you're struggling, you're not gonna get the fans. I know the guys here in Brandon last year were saying that terrible fans, Saskatoon stuff. But I'm like, well, if you're winning, it's a bit different. People do come out and they support you. And obviously in the playoffs there, that was pretty crazy. Like obviously Bedard numbers that boosted up a little bit for sure. But yeah, I guess sold out crowd, and
he kind of helped a few arenas across
Few
the
arenas.
league.
I was going to
Just
say
a
that the
little bit.
WHL probably
maybe
made a lot of
World
money off
Series.
him.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, they probably made a lot of money off him. But even like Red Deer Series, we were still getting, like 10 to 12,000 fans. So
Yeah.
it was good. It was, yeah.
No, I went to college in Saskatoon, and for that year, we went out to a couple of Blades games, and that was the year of the NHL lockout. That just tells you how old I am.
Yeah.
'Cause we weren't barely any- Anyway, it was way back when, and we went to a couple of games, and yeah, I remember thinking at the time they did not have a very good team that year.
Yeah.
And it was, but the jerseys, that was when the Blade
skate
Zamboni
blade
jerseys.
jerseys.
I think they brought him back this year, didn't they?
Or they just did recently
or
again.
recent, a different one,
They've
yeah.
definitely got some pretty cool retro
I
stuff
hope
going on in
they
there
did.
too.
They have some, and like I feel like as a former, Prince Albert Raider broadcaster, I'm committing
it's tough
some.
to say that.
Yeah, I'm committing some kind of treason by saying this, but they've had some good jerseys there over the years.
Although you just said PA, while we're talking about this, there's been a lot of fun themed jerseys this year, right? You mentioned the walleye already in the podcast here. I'm partial to it, of course.
Yep.
People know I listen to that. I love them. But the Cobra chickens in PA, have you seen that? You're a part of the Bananas then as well. I want to ask you about putting that jersey on.
I've seen the Cobra Chickens. Haven't seen the jerseys yet. I've seen someone got a tattoo of it actually.
Yeah,
For real?
Someone has gotten a
see
tattoo.
on-
Of,
Sis is going to be so happy. What was it? Him first of all?
it was not him.
don't-
It
do you
was
see
not
that?
him.
I,
but that's
I can
okay.
see Michael Sissons.
That's a fair question,
For people
but it
who
was
are
not
listening,
him.
he's the business operations manager of the PA Raiders.
Although the person in question
One of the biggest jersey lovers ever.
did tag Sis in their photo, and I think Sis
Okay.
was just, I could imagine his exact reaction, leaning back, clapping his hands with that booming laugh. Like,
I can't wait to
We've been
tell him,
having
or
a
as soon as it's
great
done,
time.
I'm going to message him and tell him that this came up on the pod. Cause
Yeah.
I
'Cause
can't believe somebody did that.
You
He's
were
gonna
right.
love
Like
it.
I saw this. I think it was
Yeah.
on Facebook. I saw it.
Yeah, I think
Somebody
so.
has an actual, honest to goodness tattoo of that Cobra Chicken logo already, and the jersey doesn't even exist yet.
Yeah, it blew my mind. I was like, wow.
That was pretty cool. But you're part of the Saskatoon Bananas night. So what was that like putting that one on?
It was cool. Actually, the fans loved it. They loved just the whole banana thing. I think it was started off as a April Fool's joke,
And that one
or
just
is it-
happened.
I think
Yeah,
it
it
did
just
as an
it
April
just
Fool's joke.
dropped.
Yeah,
They-
it wasn't.
They joked the year before they're going to change their name to the Bananas.
Yeah.
And then they did. One year we did the whole joke about the Cooperalls.
Oh,
that
yeah,
on
oh,
April
yeah.
Fools,
Oh,
we're going to
that's
bring
right.
back the Cooperalls.
Oh,
we
that'd be
were in the
awesome.
hub, and the full Cooperall pants. We'd still have it, but that would be pretty legendary to
I
bring
think
that
we'd
back.
all
I'd
one
give
time,
anything
too.
to do that. I would love to wear one.
Maybe
of
next year.
those.
That'd be really cool. A true retro 80s night with the classic Cooperalls. And yeah.
We couldn't do the helmets, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The WHL would have something to say
Yeah.
about that. At this
That'd be
point.
awesome, though.
The
just-
old Jofas.
Yeah.
I don't think those old Jovas are protecting much.
I don't think they ever did. No.
No, those are just aesthetic helmets.
So you've played for, I mean, obviously a lot of different teams coming up through the system, not including like spring hockey and that. But from Carrot River, when was the first time that you left, and where'd you go to play hockey after that? You said at 12 years old. So between that and the WHL, where'd you go to?
Well, my first full year, because I lived at home but played for a different hockey team outside of town. So that was just like a northeast team, they called it. So we would play like Melfort and Tisdale and stuff, but that wasn't in.
It wasn't like U15 AAA yet, though,
No,
was it?
no, it wasn't
Okay.
like that. No,
Of course, Sask doesn't have or didn't have.
Yeah,
U15
didn't have
AAA
that.
at that point. It was all AA.
it was all AA,
Yeah.
right? So it was, I played AA, I guess. So that's kind of what they called it. So the first full year I moved away from home was Tisdale when I was 15, mid to AAA, and that was a really fun year. We got to host Westerns, and we went to the TELUS Cup that year, and we won a bronze medal. So that was pretty cool.
Very cool.
We had a really fun team there. So, and I was close to home. I was only 45 minutes away from home.
And that was on home ice that you guys got to host. And
The
and do
Westerns,
that.
yeah.
The Westerns.
The TELUS Cup, we went to
Where was that?
Thunder Bay, Ontario.
Oh, the T-Bay.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I was in
that
the
was
building
cool.
for one of those games actually by pure coincidence. It was in the building watching Tisdale play. I want to say Thunder Bay.
In Tisdale or Thunder Bay?
In Tisdale, or maybe it was
Was that-
Brandon. It was ironically up the
Yeah,
AAA
we-
Wheat Kings were at that
We
tournament.
did
as well.
play Brand. I played Nolan Ritchie. He was on that team.
There were a lot of incident
Yeah.
future WHL stars at that event because Nolan Ritchie was on Brandon. You were on Tisdale. Landon Kosier was on Tisdale at
Yep.
that time. I remember him.
Hayes.
Yeah, Hayes
Okay.
was there. Cade Hayes was he with Tisdale as well?
He was, Tisdale too, my year, yeah.
There was some talent at that event.
Yeah, no, it was really fun.
That's pretty cool how everything, again, all these guys, that's why I kind of love these stories of you just in passing will play with and against these players all throughout your career. Sometimes one game at this crazy national tournament, and then end up with the same team in them or the same league or same division, and it kind of goes from there. So now that you're a vet and you come on in here, and how awesome was it right away? And I loved it, and we talked about this too. How great it was to see you wear that A so quickly on the jersey, coming in and getting that respect from the team, being a leader.
Yeah, I pride myself in that too. I'm pretty vocal in the room and on the bench, and that's kind of, I can't get away from that. That's just who I am. I'm a vocal guy and like to get guys going and be a leader. So it was really nice to see that the coaches pulled me and Roarsma into the office and entrusted us enough to put the jerseys for home and away. We switch and whatever. So it's been really good though. I pride myself in that. So.
And the guys who've come into the team throughout the year, because you were the first guy that was really brought in, but there have been others since, have all talked about how easy it was to integrate into the room. What is a priority for you to helping guys, when they're coming to a new team, get settled in with new teammates and new surroundings?
Yeah, that just depends on sometimes the people in the room. And even when I got traded, I was kind of worried. I was like, oh man, we were so close in Saskatoon last year. I was kind of worried about what the guys were going to be like here. And when I got here, it was just boom. It was just, these guys are close, and it's kind of the same feel, same family feel, and we get along, and we party on the bus in the back with tunes and concerts after we win and stuff. So it's fun. It's really fun, and but yeah, just the people that make it easy to transfer. And you need different types of people, right? You can't have everyone that's serious, right? You need the jokesters, and you need guys that are laid back, and we have that here. So.
Is there somebody, you mentioned jokesters, and like we had him on the podcast, so we know Matt Henry falls into that category pretty firmly, but is there somebody that surprised you with their personality on the team?
Carson. I kind of took him as a person that's not really gets out of his bubble, like always serious kind of person, and he's absolutely not. I won't mention the things he says to me, but yeah, he's a character. He's a jokester too. So I always chirp him and stuff on the ice in practice, and we have good times together.
I had reason to chirp him today too. I happened to be down at practice with Perry Bergson, and I may have seen a couple of snipes.
Yeah, every time I score against him, I give it to him. So
speaking of snipes, so nice to see Nate back out there. Nate Danielson back in the lineup here with you guys at the first game back starting tomorrow. That's gonna be nice to get a guy like that back in your lineup, of course.
Yeah, we obviously were happy for him to be where he was, but we missed him too. He's a huge part of our team right now, and he's our captain, right? So huge to get him back, especially with this homestand, and kind of get back on the right track again for sure.
December was unbelievable with the amount of home games that we had here, right? You had the 6 before the break, you get back 2 more before hitting the road for 2, and now in January we're talking there's still just a whole whack of home games. So this is the time to kind of be racking up these wins, but at the same time it's a lot of time at home. Do you miss those bus rides at all when you get that stretch, like you were talking about, having all the fun on the bus and getting away with the guys and the team bonding? It's great to be around home, but at the same time, that's where you guys kind of get like that time to really bond together, right? It's on the trips.
Yeah. I do not like the bus. Okay. I don't like it.
After a win, you like it.
After a win, I like
it. Okay.
But if we lose, it's very quiet for a long time. So I don't like that. But if we win it, I love it. I love the bus rides. But like going to the games, even like I'm just, especially in Brandon, we have longer bus rides. So it's kind of not a big fan of them, honestly.
So you were a big fan of all the home games in December and the ones here in January.
Big fan. Yeah. But then once this is all done, you got a bunch of road games after that, so you got to be prepared for that. But yeah, the home games are nice because you can do your own schedule. Like on the road and stuff, like your schedule gets mixed up a little bit. So, but yeah, not a big fan of the bus.
One of those recent road games I do want to circle back to because the homestand was great, obviously 7 of 8, and hopefully similar results in the coming 6-game homestand, but you had a homecoming of sorts in Saskatoon. And I noticed that during the first period, they had this video tribute prepared for you that you got to see while you were on the bench. How did it feel to look up at that score clock in that arena and see clearly the regard that the Saskatoon Blades had for you?
Yeah, I was mixed emotions a little bit too when just seeing that, and it was really nice and thoughtful of them to do that. Obviously, they don't do that for everyone, so I was pretty thankful, pretty honored that they did that for me, and I seen a lot of signs and stuff and warm ups, and it was a good welcome back, and it felt a bit weird at the first time I went out there, but I got used to it obviously, but yeah, it was definitely pretty special, and to get that video, and I teared up a little bit on the bench. I was kind of So
that I couldn't see. I couldn't see that because you're facing the other way from me, so I couldn't see it.
Yeah. Just you make a lot of memories and the people and meet the fans, and I'm meeting fans here. I'm gonna miss them when I leave here too, right? So it's kind of how it goes.
Did you take any of the wrong doors when you were there?
I didn't know where any of the meetings were. I had to ask the guys. We had a coaches meeting, and I had no idea where we were going. So yeah.
But you did manage not to walk into Brendan Sawney's office when you heard coaches meeting. That might have been reflexive.
I definitely didn't pass the curtains. That's their side.
That's awesome. So with this next stretch, and you guys had such a strong December, and you're coming off of that one loss, which is against a team that is ahead of us in the standings, but you guys have competed against all of these teams, and all the games have been close with that one exception. They've all been 1 or 2 goal games. Heading into trade deadline, even if, let's just say, the team doesn't do anything, and this is the team, and the way that you guys have been playing lately, do you feel really comfortable with the roster and the guys around you that this is going to be a team that you guys can bond together and really make a push in this now ever getting tougher division?
I do, yeah. We proved it. We played against Moose Jaw and Saskatoon a couple times here, and we can play with them, right? So I have full confidence in our team, and sometimes even when you make a trade, like, it can affect your team in a bad way too, even if it is a good player, just who you bring in and how close you are with people, and so it's we're a family in there, and we're all really close, and we battle, but we have we know when it's fun time to work time, and so that's something that I know the coaches will take for into suggestion that like, we do have a close team. We don't want to split that up necessarily. So,
and now that the team is performing at a level where third place is right there for the taking, you're kind of back and forth with Moose Jaw on that front. I kind of put this question to you in Saskatoon, but when you look at the way the Blades have played before their run last year, do you see this team as being capable of a similar playoff push?
I do, yeah. I think we can surprise a lot of people. Obviously, where we've shown we can play really good hockey in the third period, and obviously if we can get more consistent playing that for a full 60 minutes, it'll be awesome right now. But I think we can obviously go in the playoffs. Like, anything can happen. It's playoffs. We have a lot of playoff players in our room, I think, so that makes a big difference.
I just want to hear Thunderstruck a few more times this year. That's all.
I would love to too.
the whole custom goal song. Maybe we told that story in the pod. Maybe we did, but
we might have done. But it's been a while.
But I definitely want to bring that up again. So when the trade news did happen, I have to be the fun guy who gets to reach out and be like, "Hey, welcome," but just so you know, I need you to pick a goal song. Yeah. And so you want to tell the fans how that came about, how you thought you'd go and you would find yours. Because I love this.
Well, was it the fans? I think it was the fans. Yeah. So I went when I got traded and got asked for my goal song, and I didn't know what to pick at first. I never done a goal song, so I went on social media, on the Vikings social media, and a couple fans were saying Thunderstruck and stuff, and AC/DC and kind of the older style music. So I picked that, and yeah.
And great choice, honestly. Like, I think the fans had the right idea, and so did you on that.
Well, yeah, I want to pick something the fans would like. I didn't want to pick something necessarily just for me. I wanted to get the fans into it too. So
you see, and that's how I knew right away you're gonna be a fan favorite.
Yeah,
like here's this guy comes in, and that was on the Nate Danielson post. So all the guys picked their goal song, but we did that one post while Nate was away. Just ask the fans what they would pick for him.
Right.
And of course, that was one of the popular suggestions. And
right.
And yeah, no, that was awesome for you to pick that. And man, how awesome was that to hear that in overtime, right? Like that's
awesome.
That's
the guys were all giving me a hard time when I first got here about it. I'm like, I messed up here. I should have picked something better, but I don't regret it now. I don't regret it.
Made the right choice, no question.
No.
Although I think knowing that now, if you get another shootout winner under your belt, we got to get Thunderstruck locked and loaded for that one. Although that one was, you've now had your first overtime winner and your first shootout winner in Brandon.
Crazy stuff.
Within the same month.
Same month. It was a good month.
Well, here's to January then.
Okay. Another homestand.
All right, well, we kept you for longer than what we said. We keep doing that. But thank you so much for Jayden for popping on by
all
here
good.
today. Any last questions for him while we got him, Rob?
No, we've taken up a lot of your time, Jayden.
I really appreciate this,
really
man.
appreciate
Yep,
it.
appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Welcome back inside the studio. Jayden Wiens. Big thanks for him stopping on by here this week in the Weekly Harvest. What a great kid. Great kid.
Always a pleasure to deal with on the road. I've interviewed him a few times this year because he's hit milestones. He had his 200th game. Incidentally, one game short of his rematch with Saskatoon. His 200th game came on December 27th against the Regina Pats. That was this close to being storybook, but he's had a lot of milestones this year, and I've gotten to talk with him about a few of them, and just rarely have I met an easier kid to deal with. Like, just super, super fun to work with off the ice. No fun to play against on it. You can tell that just by watching, and I think the Wheat Kings are pretty glad he's on their side.
Yeah, so Wheat King fans enjoy him while he's here for the rest of the time. So before we get out of here this week, Rob, we are going to wrap up soon because I've got to get out of here. We have got a very busy day. I'm about to be taking Carson Bjarnason on the road, and we are going to take him to his hometown of Carberry, Manitoba. There is a special event happening tonight. It is the Tournament of Champions in Carberry. I'm not sure what age division off the top of my head, actually, but there is a TOC happening in Carberry this weekend, and the first Carberry game is going to be happening tonight. So we're going to show up with Carson to do the ceremonial puck drop and do some autographs.
Excellent.
Just right?
Excellent.
Hometown
And
guy, I just can't. It's going to be the kids are going to love it. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight.
And we've talked before, like, he's the guy when it comes to community stuff. If you're going down the roster, there's not a bad option for taking kids out into the community.
No.
But he's a guy that you really want as not only a local guy and an NHL drafted player, but somebody whose personality is just so perfect for dealing with young crowds. So he's going to be just mobbed tonight in Carberry, and I'm sure he's perfectly suited for it.
Oh, I mean, we're just talking to one hometown hero here, Jayden. He was talking about, again, how great all the guys are in the locker room. Here we're going to take another great guy, a hometown hero, home tonight. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, we're going to be hitting the road here in not too long. As we record this, it's already 4:30 on the Friday afternoon. We got to hit the road by 5. We have got the game tomorrow. Vancouver's in town. And then we got Victoria. 2 teams, Rob, that we have not seen in a while, of course, as the BC tour continues. The first time since the 2019-20 season. And with that, we get to see a whole whack of new players who have never touched their skates in Brandon. With one exception, at least for tomorrow night, it'll be the return of Logan Hammett to Westoba Place.
Yeah, that's going to be a bittersweet day for him, I'm sure. I mean, for a guy who began his Western Hockey League career here, who played hundreds of games as a member of the Brandon Wheat Kings, and who, because of the offseason, the overage situation in Brandon needed to be sorted out, he was the guy that ended up getting sent to Vancouver, and he's done well with the Giants as far as I can see. And I'm looking forward to seeing him back in this building. It's a tough side of the business, and it seems pertinent to bring that up now with the trade deadline looming that, there's more to this than just player A goes to team B in exchange for pick C. Like, you've got to think about billet parents and fans and teammates that you've grown very close with. It's not an easy thing to trade a young man in this age group across the country, but it's nice to see Logan making the most of an opportunity in Vancouver.
Really hope I get a chance personally just to see him tomorrow, because he was traded in the offseason, never got a chance to say bye. And there's these guys that he spent a couple of years with doing these events and things, and you get to know him and like him, right? And anyway, he's one of the good guys, so we'll see him and the rest of his Giants team here tomorrow night. It's Dauphin Country Fest night, and we have got some more weekend Country Fest passes we're going to be giving away tomorrow. We got this very fun game we're going to play in second intermission called Pack for Country Fest. So anybody who's coming to the game tomorrow night, make sure you enter to do that either at Fan Zone or the check-in to win on the app, but you can win yourself some Country Fest passes there. And then we got the TikTok Tuesday, another one coming up on Tuesday as the Victoria Royals head into town. And that one is always great with the $5 kid and youth tickets. And that's all in, Rob. $5.
That's it.
All in. There's no taxes, fees, $5 on Tuesday. The kids get in the game. It's the best deal you could possibly get.
Hand us a $5 if you still carry cash. I know a lot of people don't, but hey, you got 2 kids, hand us a $10, in you go. Done and done.
It's going to be a whole lot of fun. And then, like you mentioned, though, we got 6 games coming up here again. After we just talked about our 6th game.
14 home games in 2 months. And here's the thing. Once we're done with Victoria and Vancouver, that's it for out-of-conference opponents. Yep. It's in-conference teams the rest of the way, and those standings are still just clenched.
Right now, it is incredibly tight. So before we leave, we were just briefly talking there about the third place grasp right now. With these teams moving in trade deadline, fighting for every point in every position, every point, even these other division ones, are going to be crucial. But yeah, after this, and it's literally now it's 4-point games, not 2-point games, and it's going to be incredibly tight. So every point, very crucial, and that means that every single shift is very crucial. And remember that these guys talk about it, the players, they love performing in front of big crowds, and they love performing in front of our fans. So love to see the support. People come on out because the guys have been playing great hockey. Attendance has been on the rise. Some of those comments online, Rob, it does. I actually appreciate when people say, like, why are there so many red seats right now? Because this team is playing very, very well. And it's the problem was you're in Christmas season, and you had 14 home games. There's only so much, indisposable income that people have, disposable income. But if you want to get on board, this is the time. There's some great ticket plans. You can contact the Wheat King office. But this second half rush, these games are going to be an absolute blast on the ice and off.
I've said it before, the way the team is playing right now, they deserve to play in front of a packed barn. They've played some of their best hockey in front of the barn when it is packed. So the more fans we can get out to West Oval Place, not only the happier will Chris and I be, but the happier the players will be. And like I said, the way they're playing right now, they deserve to have an audience. And we want to see that audience out over the next couple games.
Come and see them now while you can, before guys like Nate Danielson are off in Detroit playing for the Red Wings, and guys like Carson Bjarnason are off playing for the Philadelphia Flyers, and the Brett Highlands are off with the Capitals, and then the who knows about to be drafted guys, and it goes on and on. So come on out, support these guys, because they're only going to be here so long, and it is shaping up to be a wild ride here in January. The next time you're going to hear from us is going to be next week. We are going to be doing a post-trade deadline show, I suppose. We have no idea what's going to be happening as of right now. We're going to plan on the Wednesday to find out, and then hopefully we can get a special guest from Hockey Ops on it once the deadline passes, and then whatever happens, we're going to try and break it all down for you right here on the Weekly Harvest. So
I'm looking forward to it in an offhand sort of way. It's a tough time of year, like I said, because of trades, but it is also an exciting one.
It's going to be good. So until next week, he's Rob Mann. I'm Chris Falko. Have yourself a good one. Talk to you later. Cheers.